Howdy folks, Farmer Joe here, coming at you fresh from the field. I want to give you a little update. Here we are at the end of October. Look at this folks, I got my sleeves rolled up. It is hot. It's a hot fall, so that's great. It's given us an opportunity to get a head start on next year. So here we have one of our cover crop blocks. We spent a whole day and a half, Milo and I, spreading wood chips. And so here, this is an experiment because I noticed that cover crops alone were not creating the type of amazing soil conditions that I was observing under wood chips. Or the same thing you would observe in a forest, an undisturbed soil under a layer of organic matter. So here, this is where the rye maize was, and I had an established cover crop, and we spread wood chips on top. So you can see the cover crop is underneath, the wood chips are on top, and I'm hoping that I didn't kill half my cover crop by putting a layer of wood chips on top of it. So with a bit of luck, it'll survive and it'll grow for the next 3 years, but that layer of organic matter on the surface is going to create this amazing, just like complex situation happening with fungi and bacteria and earthworms, because I can tell you the spots where I've had wood chips put down for 2 or 3 years, it's amazing. You just pull it back, it's dark, rich, full of earthworms, and so I'm trying to reproduce that situation here in the cover crop blocks. In terms of what's growing in the field, we have, as you can see, not that much going, but considering that it's October, we've still got kale, we got chard, we got bok choy, toki picana, arugula, salad mix, baby kale, spinach, lettuce, parsley. So quite a large diversity of crops that we're still harvesting from the field. These are crops that we choose specifically for their ability to resist the cold. And so there you can see the row cover. That's a low-tech technique to improve the survivability of these crops. So we just create like a sheltered space. It increases the temperature by 1 or 2 degrees, but most importantly, it creates a sheltered microenvironment away from the wind. And so this is part of our transition from fall into winter. So we've got our greens growing outside for our fall with CSA. We cover them. We've got them protected. We still have broccoli in the field that we're harvesting. It's amazing, it's super sweet. Now the tunnels behind you, those tunnels are actually empty, but the ones that are next to it that you can't see are full of arugula and spinach and bok choy and kale. So that's gonna be for like November and into December. And then in the greenhouse, we're transitioning from our summer crops into our fall crops. So let's go check it out. All right, and so this is where, as you can remember, there was like 10-foot tall cherry tomato plants and cucumber plants growing. So here we are, we're transplanting the arugula. Normally arugula is direct seeded, which means that we use a special tool to place the seeds directly in the soil. But because that we're trying to really optimize our use of space for our winter CSA, we decided to transplant it because if we direct seed it at the end of October, it's not going to be ready in time for Christmas. So we're not going to get a harvest before the holiday season, and then we won't have greens for the winter CSA, and we don't want that. So let's keep going. What do we got here? Oh my God. Here is spinach that was planted in the middle of September, looking beautiful. The very last tomatoes here. These are the very last greenhouse tomatoes. We keep removing the leaves to maintain the correct ratio of leaf to fruit to continue maturing. And then we got more spinach here. So this spinach looks amazing. We've also got some arugula. This arugula was direct seeded because these beds were emptied early enough that we were able to direct seed it in time for it to be ready in December. So these greens are going to get harvested in December for winter CSA, and then we take a break, right? We take a 6-week break, and then in February, with a bit of luck, there's going to be enough light that the greens start to grow again and we can harvest them again in February. If not, at least by the end of February or early March, we'll be harvesting in here again, harvesting until we'll actually rip out the middle row of spinach in March and plant tomatoes right in the middle of our spinach bed. And that way we'll continue having some greens from our greenhouse all the way into April. And in April, we start having greens from the outside, from the tunnels. So last year we only had 1 week of the whole winter with no greens, and that was actually in April. We had a 1-week gap between the end of the greenhouse greens and the beginning of the tunnel greens from the field. And it's the beginning of planting season, so we're inventorying our seeds and doing our plans for next year, figuring out how much of each crop we want to grow, reviewing each crop alphabetically one by one, what worked, what didn't. Did we have enough lettuce? No, we didn't. We need a little more lettuce. Oh, but we had too much of this, too little of that. Just figuring out everything. And each year, just trying to fine-tune the machine. The machine, it's not a machine, it's an organism, right? Trying to fine-tune the system so that we just have just the right amount of crops in just the right ratios at just the right time so that we can run a successful business, because we are doing this by passion, but we also need to make a living out of it. And it's really not easy to make a living from farming. So it really requires to cut down on waste and find efficiencies every step of the way, and to find the best way to market our products. And that's where you come in. So thank you all for all of you who come to the farm store, all of you who are part of our CSA. You play a key role in creating a financially sustainable system here at the farm that allows us to live from our passion. That's a long-winded way of saying, here's what's up at the farm, and I'll catch you on the flip side, folks.